Hey everybody, Clay Archer, CEO DBC Technology, and I'm going to change gears a bit today. Today I'm going to talk about negative Ubiquiti reviews. There's been a lot of chatter online lately about negative reviews for Ubiquiti and what creators can and cannot do. I wanted to jump in real quick and clear the air about the way creator programs work and what you can and cannot say. I'm going to break this down into a few different segments and I'll put timestamps down below. But first I want to describe what a creator program is, how it works, and why I chose to be in one. Second, I'm going to talk about what I do and do not review and why I do that. Third, I'm going to call out some problems. Fourth, I'll talk about the different kind of reviews and the problems that they create. Fifth, I'm going to give you my take on UniFi's philosophy and how that guides my reviews. Sixth, I'm going to go over the UniFi travel router. That came out a few weeks ago and there's been a lot of buzz about it. I just want to go through that review and how I would do it, the things I would call out, and the things that I think are good about it. So let's jump right in. If you've been around for a while, you know for years I bought all my own Ubiquiti gear. So starting back in the AirCam days and their early WAPs, I've been using Ubiquiti for over a decade now, and I really like the products. And as I started to do reviews of UniFi products, I would just buy all the products and I would test them. And that worked really well for me. As you know, I run an MSP. I need to understand the products. So I have a R&D budget. We buy new stuff all the time just to test it out and see if it works for our clients. I mean, there was really no reason for me to join the program. They reached out to me a few years ago and asked if I wanted to join the program. And the thing that really intrigued me was to be able to get access to the devices as they came out and the ability to just be able to test everything. In the past, I only bought the things that I liked. So like this UniFi travel router, I wouldn't even touch it. I wouldn't even think twice about it. It just wasn't in my everyday scope of things. So the other appealing thing for me as an MSP was to have a direct contact with the people at Ubiquiti. They were very upfront in the beginning that they wanted honest feedback and they wanted people to do honest reviews of the gear and give them feedback. I took that at face value and it's been my experience up to this point that they have certainly done that. And I will tell you, as part of the program, they have explicitly told me that I am allowed to give negative feedback. So I'll get a little bit more into the editorial review later, but as far as being able to or not allowed to give negative feedback, that certainly has not been my experience. So that brings me to the next topic, which is why I don't review everything. I have limited time. I'm not going to review everything. And I think that's for all creators. It doesn't matter if you're Peter McKinnon doing a camera or you're Doug DeMuro doing a car or whoever you are that are doing reviews. There are more products out there than you can physically review. So inherently, I am only picking the best of the best and or the things that I truly am interested in to review. So if Ubiquiti comes out with a door strike or it comes out with a doorbell or it comes out with something I just don't care about, you will see that I don't do reviews. Doorbells are a perfect example. You've never seen me review a doorbell. I live in a condo. I don't need a doorbell. I don't have a doorbell. It wouldn't be a good review because I couldn't put it through its paces. I couldn't really test it and I'm just not interested. So one of the reasons on my channel that you won't see a bunch of negative reviews or bad reviews or dog reviews is that if a product isn't good inherently or it doesn't show a lot of potential, I'm not going to test it. And if I started testing something and it was just horrible, I'm going to just give up and not review it. So maybe that's a little bit on me. So maybe I should continue to review things. But the reality of it is I just don't have enough time in my day to do negative reviews about people's products. So it's just like a car reviewer. It's not going to take the time to do a negative review on some obscure, bland car because it's not worth their time and energy. It's not going to get views. It's just not something that any creator wants to do. So because I'm not reviewing everything, inherently, you're going to see majority of good stuff. But even the good stuff does have issues from time to time. And when it does, I will call them out. So, like some of them are bigger issues like the fogging issue on the G4 Pro Bullet. That was a big issue and I called it out. And honestly, over the years, they've come up with several different remedies to make sure that doesn't happen. The G6 180 just a few weeks ago, I thought that underperformed in LPR performance. And I called it out in that video. Obviously, you're not buying that camera to do LPR, but I don't think that camera does as good a job at LPR as two individual G6 turrets would do by themselves. But that's typical. This is a new form factor. They're trying to do something new there. It's V1 of it. It's just rolling out. I'm not going to say that's a bad device. And honestly, that sold it like crazy. It's a really good device. And I think a lot of people are really going to like that device. And I mentioned in that video that the pros way outweighed those cons, but they're not perfect and things have issues. But, I will continue to call balls and strikes as there are issues with things, just as I always have. And that brings me on to the types of reviews. And there are two different types of reviews here. There are these kind of embargoed reviews where there's a reveal of some piece of hardware. And then there are the long-term reviews where we take some time and we really dive deep into things. I will say personally, for me, I like the latter. I like to do a long-term review. The majority of the people that came to my channel in the beginning were looking at my long-term camera reviews. I use those cameras all day, every day. I use all the cameras all day, every day. And so my long-term reviews find things that the cameras are good at, find things that things are bad at. I review different install options, day versus night, winter versus summer, high humidity, bad conditions, good conditions. That's the kind of review that I like to do. But that being said, there are other reviews that are embargo reviews. And well, a little inside baseball here. Some of the products we've had for a little while, some of the products we get a day or two before. So the quality of that review, in my opinion, is going to depend on how long we've had that product to deep dive into it. To be clear, I'm not discounting the value of those embargo reviews either. If something's just come out and you want to know it's in the packaging, know how it fires up and what it looks like and what somebody's quick experience has been with it. I think that's a valuable buying decision there. But you also need to know that on those reviews, there's typically not months and months of data. And if there isn't a lot of time, you should be able to tell by the context of the review, is this thing installed? Has there been some time passing in the video itself? If it's like the travel router, has somebody gone on site with it? If it's a camera review, is there day and night for several days and nights tested there to see that somebody's really put it through its paces? If not, it's typically that the embargo was quick and they didn't have the device long enough and they're just giving you an overview. So on those quicker turnaround times, it's really hard to know whether something is good or bad, or really get into the features that may be good or bad because you don't have time to really test them. And if you do hit an issue on one of those quick turnaround, quote unquote, embargo ones, it would be nice to be able to talk back to the company, in this case, Ubiquiti, and see why you're having that issue. So you can see why in that case, it's important for Ubiquiti to have some sort of feedback loop there to A, know that the correct information is being put out there, and B, let them know what they need to do to improve the product if there is a real problem. And that brings me to what I think is Ubiquiti's unique selling proposition. And this is my opinion. This has got nothing to do with anything that Ubiquiti has told me or says, but you just get this feeling from using their products. I think their products are aimed at being very simple to install and deploy with minimal effort. The way I look at it is something that I can refer to my mother or my father or my family members and know that they will be able to purchase this, install it, and it will do what it says it's going to do. Now, a lot of people that I think are making these comments are people that want to really dive into the deepest features of every nook and cranny of these products. And that is cool, and there is a place for that. But with the millions of views that my channel gets a year, I would say 99% of those people want to know, does this thing just turn on and work as advertised? Is this thing just going to do what it's supposed to do? And I often make that Apple analogy. Is it just going to turn on and work? Or is this going to be Linux or Windows where I've got to go 15 pages deep into a manual to figure out how to turn something on or off? And for the most part, I think Ubiquiti nails it on that. And so it doesn't really make sense to talk about deep features if they all just kind of work as they're supposed to. Now, obviously, if there's an underlying issue somewhere, we should bring it up and we should talk about it for everybody. But for most people that are looking at a camera, they want to say, hey, what does it look like? Will it just turn on and work? Will it make these detections? And will I get alerted to it? And if the answer to all that's yes, most people are pretty happy with it. So you have to know your audience a little bit there. Do I nerd out on things? Do I like the technical part of things? And do I go a little deeper than the average person? Certainly. But do I think that most people are coming to a Ubiquiti review just to see the overview of how it works? Is it going to do what they say it's going to do? And is it right for me? I think 99% of the people are doing that. So with that in mind, let's jump in the UTR, the Ubiquiti Travel Router. That came out last week, and I didn't have a lot of time with that router beforehand to test it. Now, truth be told, this is probably not an item that I would have reviewed anyways, but I did think it was a really cool item. And if I had more time, I probably would have reviewed it. At this point, there's a ton of reviews on it and I don't really have much to add to them. But if you want to deep dive in and take a look at one of those other reviews, they've done a really great job. I think Jesse over at Tab Geeks did an excellent review of it. And he did a really cool Twitter post the other day where he was on a long transcontinental flight with his family and was able to use the UTR, give his kids devices, have them all linked back to his house with one simple $79 device. That's cool. That's the kind of story that I would like to tell in my videos. I think that that shows usage of it. It's real world. Everybody can feel the anxiety of traveling with twins and your wife, and the stress of just trying to get to another country. And you can just see in your head the kids on the flight with an iPad, calming down, watching Blue's Clues or whatever kids watch these days, and absorbing that 10, 11, 12-hour flight. So all that being said, I truly think the UTR is a really cool device, but I'm going to say some negative things about it. And these are the things that other people wanted to see in this device. 1, there's no battery in it. 2, no 5G. 3, no Wi-Fi 7 or 6 gigahertz. 4, it's slow in comparison to other products. 5, there's other products in the market that do what it does better. 6, you can just use your cell phone to do what this is doing. And I can keep going on and on and on with things that I think would be quote unquote issues for some people. But let's step back and think about it with that Ubiquiti philosophy I just said. Yes, it could have a battery. Yes, it could have 5G. Yes, it could have 6 gigahertz and on and on and on. But those things would cost more money. And the reality of it, at $79, I think this is a real nice value. I think for the average person to be able to just click one button and be able to do this, I think it's great. And yes, you could do it with your phone, but the average person isn't that techy. And I think for $79 to have this small device that's the size of playing cards that just connects back to your home is super awesome. And yes, there are other devices that will do the job and maybe do the job better, but I think the simplicity being built into it and the price point makes it really simple for somebody to do. I see Jesse as a father with his family that just wants to click a button and watch Netflix and Plex back at the house on their iPads. I see a business traveler that just wants to walk in the hotel, get connected, click a button, teleport back to their office and see all their files. And for $79, I think it just is easy. You don't have to be a nerd. You don't have to know how to tether everything. It's just simple. You click a button, everything looks like you're at your home. Honestly, it's a device that probably wouldn't make the cut for me, but you can see there are pluses and minuses, and I could look at it from either direction, and I could say, hey, if you're super techie, maybe you should go buy the third-party device, or not buy a travel router at all and just use your phone and tether. But the reality of it, this is a really cool device. It sold out immediately. I think a lot of people are really liking the device. Is it the world's fastest device? No. Is it have every feature? No. But the price point's great, and that's where you end up. But if I had made that review and send it to Ubiquiti, I would have received 0 feedback on that. They would have been totally okay with me posting that, as they are with all the videos that I post. I just wanted to put that out there as a typical review that has its pros and its cons and what that would look like. And that brings me to why am I doing these reviews? I laugh at the comments where they say, oh, you're a shill, you're making a ton of money. You only say nice things about them because they're paying you. I will start this off by saying that YouTube revenue makes up less than 0.1% of DPC revenue. So it is not a revenue generator. This is not something that you would do to get rich. Maybe if you've got 1 million viewers or 2 million viewers or 5 million viewers, the economics work out differently, but this is not some sort of lucrative thing for a MSP owner to do. You might also say, well, Clay, you get a lot of clients from it. I could probably count on one hand the number of clients over the last 10 years that I've gotten from doing Ubiquiti reviews. And I would be much better off by taking the time that I am creating these videos, just going around and shaking hands and kissing babies, than I am by doing YouTube reviews. It is not the best use of my time. But what I do love about it is that it lets me review technical gear. For me personally, as the company has grown and I've been CEO over the last 30 years, I get less and less exposure to technical stuff. I love technical stuff. I love to get down into the weeds of technical stuff and test stuff and break stuff and play with stuff. And this gives me that avenue to do that. And I'm able to share it with people that find value of it. That's really cool. And quite frankly, over the years, I've been paying to do the reviews and paying with my time, and to cover my costs is nice. So I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth if Amazon has an affiliate link or Ubiquiti has an affiliate link, or if YouTube wants to pay me in AdSense. I certainly am not going to turn that revenue away. And one other thing about my channel is I do have editors as well. And so I have expenses that most other YouTube creators don't. I just don't have the time to edit my videos. And if I didn't have Michael and Jack, I probably would put out 3 or 4 videos a year. So for me, the YouTube revenue, the Amazon revenue, and the AdSense, they help pay for that editing. So that's nice. It's a win-win for me, but I paid for it before I was in the program. And if I ever left the program, I would continue it. It's just the way that my workflow works. And so let's bring this thing to a close and let's talk about UniFi's editorial review and why I'm okay with them having some feedback on my content. One, I value their feedback. I make better videos. I have access to their engineers. I have access to their team. And when I am wrong about something, they'll call me out and they'll tell me, hey, do this or do that. You'll see in my earlier videos that I would mount cameras incorrectly, or, something like an LPR review. It's very easy to mount those cameras incorrectly. So to be able to have that kind of feedback with the team, with their teams, and be able to make a better video, I think that's a win-win. Second of all, they only ask for that editorial review on their embargo or latest release videos. So if something's been around for a while. If I'm going to do a review of an AI 360, there is no review that they don't have any input on that. And I can say whatever I want to say on that. They have absolutely no input whatsoever. But they do want to have input on the new releases. And frankly, I think it makes sense. If they're giving us pre-production units and we're going to dive into them, we are going to make mistakes. And all they're asking for, at least to me, is the ability to review that content and make sure that I haven't made any mistakes. If something doesn't do what they say it's going to do, and I point it out and it doesn't do that, they will not make me take that out. If I say it doesn't do something, but it does do that thing, they're going to ask me to edit that and make sure that I get it correct. And I think that's fair for everybody. And I can only speak for myself here, but they have not asked me to edit anything that I didn't think was a decent edit. So that's been my experience. I will also wrap this up by saying, it's 2026. If you are watching reviews online, odds are that most creators are accepting items for review. Odds are that if the device is worth more than $50, or that it is happening on the day of an embargo, that somebody was either given the device or they were loaned that device. And just in and of itself, being loaned something that's $10,000 or a $100,000 car is going to influence the person's opinion on it. There's just no doubt about that. If Canon is lending Peter McKinnon a camera, or Sony is loaning Gerald Undone a camera, they are going to be influenced by that generosity. You'll see it all the time. People review stuff. They'll go on a junket. They'll do a review of the device. I think as adults, we all need to realize there is some influence for everybody on everything. Some programs have affiliate links, some programs pay for sponsorships, but everybody is getting paid from somewhere. And I think you need to take everything with a grain of salt. I personally use reviews from people that I trust to do a deep dive on a product. I know that they are probably going to have some influence or going to be making some money off the product. That's just the way that the world works. I'm not naive, and I don't think that you should be either. And with that, I hope you find my reviews of some value. If you ever have any questions about my reviews or want to make a comment about how I missed something, please put them in the comments down below, or you want to call out an inaccuracy in my video, please do so. I'm more than willing to have those conversations. And if you want to talk about this subject in general, please put those questions and comments down below. As always, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video.